So just a couple of words about my chapter. So first of all, thank you very much, Amy and Joe, for editing this brilliant book and also for organizing the book launch. So the title of my chapter is The Post-Race City. And the aim of the chapter is to develop a critical and creative discussion of imaginaries of the city as an organism in the context of racialization and fascism. So I explore relationships between borders, freedom, and imagination in this chapter, thinking of political borders, imaginaries of urban borders, but also the borders of imagination. And I'm particularly interested in those accounts according to which freedom is not constrained by borders or the opposite of borders, but rather the result of borders and borderisation regimes, or at least the result of trespassing borders. So this leads me to an examination of liberal as well as fascist accounts of the city as an organism, and to an exploration of Nazi imaginaries of the city of the future, or to put it differently, imaginaries of the city after all Jews have either been expelled or killed. So my understanding of aesthetics here is based on an emphasis of senses as the form of knowledge production, but also of desire production or desiring production in processes of imagination. So I'm interested in thinking about aesthetics. I'm interested in a critical exploration of a desire for harmony, hierarchy, and completeness when it is based on exploitation, marginalization, and exclusion. Again, which is based on an understanding of the city as a whole, of a potentially healthy organism, where each place and each member is given a static identity in the service of the whole city. But what my understanding of aesthetics also allows me to do is it's an invitation to experiment with form. I would like to put forward the argument that the city as an organism cannot be challenged with the help with or through an organic writing style. So my chapter is not only a critique of the, let's call it, organismic city, but it's also an experiment in writing non-organismically with the help of a pendular movement between two places and two times. So very briefly, what does this understanding or approach to aesthetic allow me to do in this chapter? It allows me to do two things: to explore relationships on the one hand between post-racialism and the post-race city, and on the other hand between an unbounded aesthetic and an aesthetic of unbordering. So very briefly, post-racialism, or the end of race, refers to current claims that we have basically, that we live in an age where racism is not an important category anymore, if you like. It has been described as racism that is experienced in seemingly disconnected racial outbreaks, or to put it differently, as racisms without racism. And I relate these current claims about the end of race to the post-race city that is diagrammed as a continuous celebration of racism without the experience of racial outbreaks within its borders. Or to put it differently, as racism without racisms. Second, I can distinguish between two types of aesthetics. The first is an unbounded aesthetic that is linked to a fascist creativity that is, however, nothing but destruction and annihilation, and an aesthetic of unbordering that relates to a radical imagination or radical urban imagination that is bounded by racialized lifeworlds. Thank you.